Welcome to the Top 20 Video Game Music Show with music chosen by you. This is Lon Lon Ranch, composed by Koji Kondo from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Yes, it's a nice song with the meandering, swinging electric guitar, the lap steel, the cowgirl ballady voice, and that nice descending note that goes through the progression. It gives it like a not a melancholy, it gives it a nostalgic feel, because it's really reminiscent of a lot of old jazz and old country ballads. It's actually more jazzy than country. A lot of country songs don't tend to do these kind of chord progressions, so it's sort of like that Japanese jazz fusion, their take on country. But like the rhythm of that guitar and the instruments is very country. And like Chris says, slow day on the ranch. Boom, gonga, gonga, boom, gonga. It almost sounds like the clip-clopping of horses. It'll be pretty interesting to see what we come up with this week. So this week's topic, which we haven't said so far, is rural, country, farm. So like Rudy said, we'll probably hear some violin sounds. But I do love every week there's that thing. What is going to be the one common denominator, that one common thing throughout each of the songs that we didn't expect there to be? The turnaround, baby. Little solo. Hitting those bluesy notes. Yeah, well, which is a little uncommon for a lot of country. The interesting thing about country is you basically can play blues riffs, but you play them in a different key. So if you were playing the blues notes over the regular key, it'll sound like a blues song. It'll sound like but if the rest of the band is playing three notes down, so if you're playing or three notes up, if you're playing the A blues over C major, it sounds major and it sounds country. It sounds country as hell. So country is just, country is the blues, but the band is playing something that sounds happier over top of it. Next up, we have Sen no Kiseki, Skies of a Strange Land. Man, that is a really beautiful... It definitely has a rural feel to it. I guess with the violins and that crisp acoustic guitar, it definitely has like a countryside feel. And it definitely feels like there's a lot of kind of motion with it too. Boom. I love that. Boom, 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 boom. Doom, 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 doom. Kind of delaying that snare till the end instead of like boom, 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 boom. Having that snare in the second part of the phrase only kind of gives it this more of like you're floating along, or I don't know. To me, it feels like maybe you're not even on a road. Maybe you're like going over fields or something, like or maybe like a train going through fields. It's pretty bustly, and to me, it feels like the wind and more like travel. So that's why I feel like I'd be on a train. But yeah, we got some more violin already. And that one was chosen by Rudy and composed by Toshiharu Okajima. Oof. Emotional as fuck. That's a Falcom sound team, eh? Doesn't it just sound like something that could easily be in Chrono Cross 2? I'd probably say that every time there's this Senno Kiseki track. But I can't remember. They all blend together. Our next track is... chosen by Cyflin. It's from Wild Arms on the PlayStation 1 in 1997. It's Village of the Elwa, ELW, composed by Michiko Naruke. I love those like heavy orchestra hits. They're really subtle. Okay, that's it for us there. How about a little replay on that? So, thanks to this Goomba channel for having great music and providing relevant gameplay in high quality fashion. Man, this is a really kind of like, again, like a nostalgic, kind of like not mournful. It's got a bit of tension to it, but it definitely has enough organic instruments and that country feel. It's almost like if the city feels like up tempo, lots of snares, really dancey, like something Sonic would listen to. I don't know why I thought of Sonic. The rural is that slowed down arpeggios on an acoustic guitar, like bum bum ba, bum ba, and little strums, like somebody who's just sitting under a tree, strumming a stringed instrument that doesn't need any amplification, that's natural, that's maybe made out of the same wood from the tree sitting underneath. Oh, a Morricone vibe. Yeah, definitely, with that lyrical... What the hell would you call that? I guess it's like a flute. It's almost like a whistle. And it definitely, it definitely has that like good, the bad, and the ugly, that kind of stuff. Yeah, good call on that. You're juxtaposing the city and the country too for this track. Yeah, baby. Definitely village theme. Got a bit of hustle and bustle, toned down sort of way. Only found in the country. It's beautiful. I love the bum bum. Just love the note choices on the guitar. That bum bum ba, bum bum ba, blah, blah. Just like perfect comping. and accompaniment. I mean, and they're playing a triangle on this track too. Really nicely. Oh my god, this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous track. So who's this composed by? Michiko Naruke. Really beautiful. You know, I feel like Cyflin, you just keep picking these beautiful tracks. For the longest time on the show, you always pick the most like in your face, like bullet hell crazy music. And now I like the tracks. Now I'm starting to look forward to seeing what you're gonna pick. So you've figured me out, if that was your goal. Next up, we have another Ocarina of Time track, released in 1996 on the N64, if you didn't know. This is from Kakariko Village, composed by Koji Kondo, chosen by Claudio. This is a great recording of it. It sounds remastered. Well, it's not a great loop of it. Oh, it's not looped. I see. It's just like automatically looping. So, anyways, man, what a gorgeous track. This definitely sounds remastered in a way. Solace, welcome. Video description doesn't say anything about it. It's impeccable. It sounds like all of the N64 instrumentation, but it just is perfectly presented. Like, it sounds like it's almost not as compressed, or it was just uploaded perfectly, or they're just like the source file is really, really good. This is crazy how good this sounds. Which is something only a video game music fan would say. I mean, if you showed this to, like, you're just a regular music fan, you'd be like, isn't this crazy how good it sounds? Oh. Listen to that MIDI harmonica and flute or whatever the hell that is, low whistle. It's a great track. Another acoustic arpeggio. Another slow tempo. This has got it's got kind of an interesting rhythm, actually, because if you count it, the guitar's going boom, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, 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 bam, boom, bam, boom. But here it's, which is a 12/8. 3, 4, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. But it's almost like a little bit lilting, like it's trying to accent. Boom, 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 gang, boom, boom. It's like trying to sound a bit mechanical and clunky, almost like somebody who's maybe not a professional musician is playing it. Like it's the farmer. Their main job is farming, but yeah, they also play a bit of guitar in the village. I find the biggest thing, like, from being older and younger and playing games is I couldn't get enough of side quests. And when I first played Ocarina of Time, like collecting chickens, I thought, oh my god, so fun. Oh, that's a good point, Rudy. Is like, this is the kind of music you'd play when it's really hot and after you've worked and you're tired. and you just want to unwind, and you can just like feel it unfurling. Boom, 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 bam, boom, 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 bam. It's like just letting the spool out or something, letting the rest of your attention just go, like a fish taking your line. You don't even have it attached anymore. Goodbye, line. All right, next up from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, making its weekly appearance. This is Fonsett Village, composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, Ace, Kenji Hiromatsu, and Manami Kyoto. Here we go. Oh. Wow. Kind of sounds like the Final Fantasy theme. Good Lord. And it just keeps going, and it just keeps getting better. This is bloody gorgeous. Wow. You feel this piece less describes work in the countryside, or that post-work wind down like the last one, more the social aspects. Yeah, I could see that. To me, it feels very windy. A bit of sun, a bit of wind, maybe up on like a mountainside. It kind of sounds like there's less below you. You know what I mean? I know I'm looking at a video where they're up on rocks and mountains, so that's probably what's influenced me, but I don't like heights either. I guess it's because the percussion is so light. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of bass to it. It's like boom, 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 just kind of bouncing from piece to piece. But the emotional the note movements it's doing, the intervals, the chord changes, the key changes, it's like pulling out every stop to make something sound emotional. And those first notes, ba-da-da-da-da-da, that's right from the original Final Fantasy theme. This is so nice. This would be nice to like walk down the aisle too, or have, if like Stella was walking down the aisle, I wonder if she'd listen to this. Probably not. Oh, it just gets better and better. Oh my god. That is incredibly powerful. So this is by Ace, a duo of composers. And chosen by Rudy. Oh, it's just so like... It kind of feels like you're coming down from the mountains, from Death Mountain into like the fields, and the war is over, and like we can just play the nice flutes. It's over. Tension. It was not chosen by Rudy. I was guessing because you were talking about it, and the guess failed. It was actually chosen by... Zenmis. Good pick, Zenmis. Wow. Okay, well, I could listen to that all day. This next track is chosen by our Lord and Savior Lachlan, the man who makes a 90s kid happen. It is from World of Warcraft, Westfall, composed by Russell Brower. Oh, it's going to be a war in the fields this morning. Pa? I see smoke over the hills, Pa. Get your pitchfork, boy. Time to be a man. Yesterday we were farmers. Today we're soldiers. Tomorrow, grave diggers. The next day, probably back to farming. The sun dawns brightly on a new season of crops. Farmers wake early to toil in the fields, providing for their families and community. The sun streams through the clouds. The farmers rejoice. The horses poo. Cows swat away flies from their bumhole. And millions of nerds log on to WoW to get to the next level, see old friends, and drink Mountain Dew. Whoa, we're 2 minutes in. So this is all the different music that plays in Westfall. At night, a leopard approaches. A few chickens for dinner on its mind. The leopard is hungry. The chickens plump. The farmer sleeps. The farmer approaches the leopard, striking it down with his sickle. The farmer will now eat the leopard and feed the remains to the chickens. The chickens will gain a taste for leopard. Thus the circle of light is complete. Next up from Tearaway, this is the Orchards. Yeah. That's meaty. That's a lot of girth. A lot of beef. Oh, yes. Ooh. This is the best djembe I've ever heard in my life, because I've heard a lot of bad djembe. Man, that's so cool. That really reminds me of like some of the cool stuff you would hear on the PlayStation 1, where they were able to use CD music and they were just trying different things, and they were trying like North American composers and different, and like the kind of like trip hoppy grooves of the time and industrial stuff, and like you're saying, it's first it sounds very much like something you'd hear in Hades, that 12-string droney guitar, almost like medieval, and even the way those horns are playing together, or flutes. It sounds very medieval to me, and then it has that like really super modern kind of kind of glitchy thing that totally caught me off guard. And then nice heavy djembe. This is like a bunch of hippie medieval LARPers rocking out when the sun goes down. So cool. Wow. Woo! That's beautiful. I'm not quite sure what this game is. The track is called Natsu. And if I'm looking at this from my rusty Japanese, that is Ba, Ku, No, Na, Baku no na Yama. I think that's Yamahi or something. Number 3.
Baku no Namahu.
Yeah. Dad's got it. All right.
Baku Yoma Namahu. Number 3.
All right. Ooh.
初めてあなたと出会った季節は緑の日差しが眩しい夏でした。それからいくつか季節は巡ってさよならしたのもやっぱり夏でした。木陰で白いギター抱え二人で歌ったあの歌を覚えていますか？今も
definitely has the feel of a singer-songwriter track written in probably like late 60s, early 70s. Definitely early 70s. When things got a little warmer and they got a little more polished, and it was sort of about like feeling good. Putting on headphones with one hand. An Olympic sport. To me, it sounds like the backing to a karaoke track. It's like everything is kind of like light and sort of cheap sounding, and not trying to offend anybody. And I like the doo-wop vocals, which is sort of like a 1950s era thing or like a 70s country. It just sounds like a very innocent, small town sort of ballad, like it sounds like the opening to a TV show. Like, oh, it takes place in the early 80s? Okay, yeah, I could see that. Probably sounds like early 80s Japanese, like folk music maybe. I like how the harmonica almost sounds like it's out of tune. It's just being blown so hard. You can just see a little boy walking down the road with like his lunch and his dog. And it's a montage, and he's fishing, and his dog jumps in the river. And then they both jump in the river, and then they just dry out in the sun. And then they find some weird plants and eat them, and everything changes. And he starts seeing things, and he looks at his dog, and it starts looking like a wolf. Oh, he's really freaking out, man. Nothing's ever happened like this to him before. What were those mushrooms? Where are they? They were growing in cow manure. Why would I eat them? Oh, man. I'm tripping. All right, this next track is from Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, released in 2007 on the Nintendo Wii. It's, get this, Stella's Ranch is the name of the track. Rearrangement of Kumi Tanioka. Rearrangement done by Kumi Tanioka, and the original track by Nobuo Uematsu. Alright, so that was Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. A nice meandering track. A lot of like, I don't know what that is. It might be a clarinet or an oboe. Sort of like a lower sort of woodwind instrument. I was looking over to my dad as if he knew. Clarinet, he thinks. We're hearing a lot of, on all these tracks we've heard this week, we're hearing a lot of like plucked instruments, a lot of acoustic guitar. There's like a nice lead banjo. But again, like a really kind of meandering country theme, really slow paced, same as we've heard in all the other tracks. This one's got a bit more like heaviness to the rhythm, a bit more plodding, a bit more grounded. This is like a song for the plowman, eating the plowman's lunch, moving heavy rocks, a little heavier. Great track. All right, so our next track is a lot darker. We're going from the farms to a game called Deadly Premonition. The track is The Woods and the Goddess. Interesting track. It definitely has that kind of like medieval feel to it with the instruments and kind of like the melody choices of the vocal. There's no language or words used in this one, which is pretty effective, I guess, if you're going to have something that maybe is made in Japan and you want to have it appeal to the world, or you don't want to, or like you said, it's almost like so laissez-faire they don't find it necessary to have words, right? You don't even want to like pull someone in any direction with what the words might be describing. Interesting track. It definitely has an odd feel to it. I think it's like the extra reverb, which gives it this feeling of like folksy but in a chamber or something. And just this guy's low voice going na la la la. He sounds like he's happy and carefree, but it sounds a bit demented, which works perfectly for a game like Deadly Premonition, which, from what I can tell, looks like some kind of a horror game that takes place in really bright, sunny areas. Everything about it looks weird. It looks odd. How hyper-realistic they are, but then also kind of like a tinge of like anime coloring or something underneath them. This is weird. This looks so Japanese. It's exhilarating. It's like an amusement park, but only better. Just the way they stand there motionless and say how exciting things are. Yeah, we'll add some words later if we remember to. Let's have some fun. Horky Sporky is here. Now it's time to listen to some Mario Kart Deluxe 8. This is Moo Moo Meadows. Composers on this are Ryo Magamatsu, Atsuko Asahi, Shiho Fuji, and Yasuaki Iwata. Chosen by Chris. next thing is quite a shredding track. I mean, they like really got a very talented fiddle player, I'd call it, instead of a violin, and they are just hot stepping. What's interesting is it's got a really kind of like Jesus, I don't know if that's Irish or Welsh, or it's like in that kind of realm of just a like sort of a hoedowny, but definitely really like Celtic. But there's this one oompa percussive element. Well, there it is, where it's almost like a bongo that they throw in there, which just maybe is like a Nintendo kind of thing. I don't know if that is traditionally like a Celtic percussive instrument. Usually they have that kind of you'll see them play it. It's like a big round cow skin instrument, and they lightly kind of feather it. But it's like very low, very soft sounding. It would never be this like really high up. That's like a really, really Latin percussive element in there, but which to me just sounds like Yoshi. And it just gives a little pop. And when you're thinking about Moo Moo Meadows, you're thinking of like tight corners, and you're thinking of the those little bumps that are everywhere. You know, doesn't sound very Celtic to you. Sounds more tropical. I guess the violin to me just sounds so Celtic. Like I would never think of fiddles like that in a tropical place. But that like ba, 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 ba. Yeah, those are bongos. That's weird. Sounds like something you'd hear like the East Coast of Canada. Beautiful. Oof. Mario Kart 8 from Moo Moo Meadows. From the Moo Moo Meadows. Alright. Let's move on to the next one, baby. You know what? We're going to take a quick little break, and we'll be right back with some more music. We've got another Xenoblade Chronicles 2 track. This one is called Torigoth. Let's check it out. This is a like joyous prog band playing this stuff. I mean, you can just tell it's like really performed, the way that bass, there's like the bass slides and the way that the bass is so expressive, and some of the violins, a lot of it sounds pretty live to me, like, and the way that there's those little stops, and there's just a lot of character. It has a very, very lively, energetic sound. Yeah, there's a lot of different parts to this piece, I guess, because it's probably like the entire soundtrack for that whole Torigoth countryside. Again, it's got that feeling of like grassy fields and everything kind of like rushing by you, and yeah, it's very celebratory. That's a really, really catchy opening melody. I love that acoustic too, matching that rhythm. We've heard that rhythm a lot this week. This is a city theme for the daytime. Okay. For Torigoth. So Torigoth is actually a city, and then this is just a countryside video I'm looking at. I gotcha. I mean, it's pretty, I guess it's got more energy and bustling like a city, but it definitely sounds like a countryside city. Ah, you know, you're always in for something nice when you see Octopath Traveler. This is the Riverlands. It has that Square Enix polish to it, and that Square Enix JRPG emotion. It is just like heavy. And again, those like slow arpeggiated chords. Boom, 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 boom. We've been hearing that on the guitar all day long. Now we're hearing it on piano. The little clip-clop rhythm. Wind instruments up your ass. Wistful. Nostalgic. This one's got like more emotionally swelling strings, and I love this. Just a little bit of funk in there. It's so simple, and it's just really so effective in taking it to another level. And then it's over. Yeah, I really wanted to love Octopath Traveler just because, I mean, the look of it is exactly how you should do a modern version of those JRPG pixel art games from the Super Nintendo era. It just looks so beautiful. I'd like to try them again in Project Triangle Strategy, which I see they dumped the silly demo name of Project Triangle Strategy and just called it Triangle Strategy. What a normal sounding game. What a very normal sounding name for a game. Hey, from Octopath Traveler to Sonic Runners, this is End of the Summer. Man, you know, every time I see Sonic, and it's a newer Sonic, I think, oh no. But then there is some, like, killer music from it. And then, if you told me, it's going to be like a Sonic song with a lot of guitar and drums, I'd be like, fuck no. But this is actually really nice. It does a lot of, like, kind of campy melodic things, like, bow, bow, little major to minor, and, almost like this feels like a string homage to 8-bit music in a way, or like 16-bit music, I guess, in the original Sonic. This is really, really beautiful, really emotional, and it does have that kind of like nostalgic wrapping it up kind of feel. I feel like that's another unexpected tie between a lot of these tracks, is that what's he bouncing off of when he's not hitting those blue guys? Anyways, weird looking game. There's been a lot of nostalgia in throughout this week, and maybe that's what we think of when we think of like the countryside and rural. It's like, I don't know, yearning for home or something. And I like this, Chris, as well, when you're saying could be a city town theme but has a sunshine sound. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like getting out of the city. It's Friday and it's busy and you're finally out of that traffic, and maybe you got out a little bit early and you feel like you beat the traffic rush, and now you are far enough away from the city you don't feel the vibes of that heavy traffic jam anymore, and you're just like flying to where you need to go. You're on your way. Double jump. So, next up, from Sonic, we're going to go to Red Dead Redemption. Looks like the first Red Dead Redemption, I believe. This is called Triggernometry. Oh, those Rockstar boys. Again. Shit. Oh, that Rockstar bass. Bullet, 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 bullets. friggin' love everything about it. I love the like really heavily distorted drums. I love that drum pattern, which is actually like a bossa nova, but it's like a rock bossa nova. It just sounds like something out of like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's got such a like nice kind of dirt to it. That really, really rockin' like raw, grindy bass line. And that really dry electric guitar. Incredible atmosphere. Big horns. Gives it that kind of like 1970s, 60s TV show feel. When there's like so many like cowboy shows and all that stuff they were covering in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my god, that tremolo guitar in there too. Just so much attitude and snarkiness. Like you could feel after like a long kind of cutscene, a lot of talking in a Red Dead game, a lot of walking around, a lot of grinding, and all of a sudden you've reached like a big set piece, and or maybe like the action part of a cutscene. And good lord, I mean, just like listen to that awesome, super like Western. It's almost like wah wah wah. And then the way it just cuts in like that. Pretty amazing. All right. What a great track. All right. Moving on to one of our last tracks. This is Golden Sun, released on the Game Boy Advance in 2001. This is Vale, composed by Motoi Sakuraba, who appears every single goddamn week on our show. Sometimes he has a whole week dedicated to him, and others. Shows by Claudio. Here we go. Yeah, it's definitely has a sad kind of feel. I agree with you there, Chris. Like a lament for something passing. Again, more arpeggio with the guitars. Boom, 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 boom. A little more like they're not swung like the casual feel of a country song or a folksy song. It's more classical. Duk, 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 duk. But it's got those nice kind of like warm, well, Game Boy Advance, but to me they always remind me of like Super Nintendo. Those kind of strings, and a lot of the instruments do make it sound like you're in a cave, even though this is supposed to be for all of Vale. But the video is in a cave. It felt pretty cavey to me. I think because it sounds kind of like low and plodding and kind of dark in tone. Although, but like nice. This is like a very villagey kind of theme and melody. Bum, 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 bum. And it always ends on like very happy and resolved notes. Like everything's going according to plan. The seasons change, but nothing bad is going to be happening here. There's no monsters here. There's no battle. There's just girls in gingham dresses and little kids running around wells, and eventually later in the game, I'm sure one is going to fall down a well, and you got to go down to the well and fight a monster down there. That's what happened in my Golden Sun. Every time I see the name Golden Sun, I think it's going to be Golden Axe, and it always ends up being this GBA JRPG, and I'm reminded of it every damn time. Chris's fifth pick this week was My Time at Portia, Autumn 2, composed by Claude Ruelle. Look at that smug bastard. Looks like me. I'm gonna murder this family with this wrench. I like that animal in a bathrobe. It looks like they're gonna have a furry threesome. And stick this wrench right up his ass. I'm gonna put your balls in this wrench. Boom, 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 boom. More of that. Every single track has had boom, 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 boom. Really plucked arpeggios. Man, that Portia font does not look so much like a mobile game. Like Clash of Clans. Rudy, I saw that people had put some gameplay links, which would have been really helpful. I was just I didn't clue into it when I saw it. But I appreciate it. At least sort of curious. It's sort of like, to me, this sounds like exploring a new kind of field or something, and you're seeing different things kind of like pop up out of the ground, you know, like little gophers and that kind of stuff. Oh my god, I just realized that Furby chicken. I want to be in the orgy too. Okay. His eyes are wide. He knows what that guy is going to do. Anybody want dinner? And he goes over and just whacks that Furby thing in the skull. Oh! Almost dead. A few more hits will do it. No! Why did God bless me with this heavy, heavy skull? Why can't death come sooner? My time at Portia. Last track of the day, Claudio from Legend of Legaia, 1998 on the PS1. This is Rim Elm, composed by Michiru Oshima. Slightly tribal. You know, to me, I hear the tribal thing as in like that wah, wah, that droning note that just sort of stays the same, and the heavy kind of boof, 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 boof. And I feel that too, like a tribe with a strict and rigid hierarchy. I could feel that because they're sort of like very, very precise moments. It's not improvised. It's not dancey. It's not like celebratory. It's like, this is the way we play, you know, like, yeah, almost like a military march. There's like a little bit of movement, like here, trying to branch out a bit more, with a bit more like exploration and introspection. Does have like a Final Fantasy IX vibe, yeah. Like when you meet those little Scottish guys, the little gnomes. Or like Final Fantasy X when you go on the mountain with Kimari. Beautiful track. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining. I'll put up a better version on YouTube as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you're watching the video on YouTube, then the last comment will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Horky was listening in the background. Ants are marching in Solace's brain. And if you're on Twitch, we'll hang out for a little bit longer.